Everybody, thanks for joining us here at the Blanden Art Museum for one of our digital virtual experiences here in the classroom. And today we'll be working on one of my favorite things to do, mixed media printing here. And so basically in your kits at home that you have will look like this. And inside that kit you'll have a whole bunch of different things to kind of explore and use today. So one thing you'll have is a big piece of cardboard. Okay, you want to get that out and put that in front of you. You'll have two other little pieces of cardboard. You can set one of those off to the side. We'll be using that later. You'll have some string. Okay. And you'll have some pieces of cheesecloth, which kind of look like this, kind of like lacy, very light pieces of fabric. Okay. You should have a bottle of glue, a popsicle stick, a roller, a container of black paint, and I think we supplied everybody with at least 2 sheets of paper. Okay, that looks like that. So that should be everything in the kit, and then you have also instructions that are in there. Things that you might need to gather from home: a pair of scissors, a spoon if you have it, a plastic one will work okay too. Okay, and then some a glue stick, and some markers. We'll be using those later too. Okay, so those are the things that you need to gather. You know, today's project is inspired by a piece that we have currently on display in the West Gallery, which is part of our collection. It's a Louise Nevelson print, fantastic print. Her print is actually, the process used to create it was lithograph, which is an entirely different process than what we're doing. But the interesting thing is that Louise Nevelson used some of the same kind of materials to create the print on and using the lithographic method. And so there is some connection in terms of the materials that we're using. She was a very prominent artist during the abstract expressionist movement in New York, mainly known for her wooden sculptural pieces that are kind of collages of wood, found wood pieces, found objects and things that she would gather together and put them in boxes and create these very interesting structures. And then she would paint them a monochromatic color, which is basically just one color, predominantly black and white. So there's some gold pieces that are very interesting. So she's a very interesting artist. If you get a chance, you know, later today, spend some time and look at some of her work online. You can just Google it, and very interesting artist. And I really like her work. And you know, having this project connected with not only Louise Nevelson, but also, you know, artwork that is on display in the museum, it just adds that extra level to build interest and you know, help to inspire all artists in the area. And so with that, I think I gave people enough time to kind of gather some of those extra materials. The other note to mention today is that this will take some time to set up, and so there'll be kind of a 2 parts to this project. And so you'll create, which is basically the plate, and then you'll need to let that set up. And so it's really about letting the glue dry. And I would recommend probably a good 4 hours to really let that glue set up. And then you can actually go back and rewatch the video and make the print. But we'll do some other things in the interim as well. And I'll do the full process, and so you'll be able just to go back and access the video and kind of work out the process. And so that's the only limitation that we have with this project, is that it's kind of, we have to calculate for the gluing time. With that, can everybody hear me okay? All right. So basically, this is kind of what we're after. This is my sample. So it's just on a piece of cardboard, and I have some string glued down and some cheesecloth glued as well. And it just creates an interesting texture. And then I also did some other interesting texture just with the glue and then just kind of drawing in the glue. And so there's different things that we can do that we'll explore. And this will be kind of the end result. So this is the print that this plate created. And let me see if I can orient it the right way. Hold on. Like that. There it goes. So this gets laid down. And so it's what we call reverse print. And so, yeah. And we're using, for this one, we're just using black acrylic paint. And so the nice thing is, if you want to explore color, you just get different colored paint that you can use. And typically what happens is that sometimes the plate turns out cooler than the print, which is really kind of cool. So you're actually making multiple pieces of artwork that can be framed and then shared with your family. And that's a really great thing with prints, is that you can actually print multiples and give them out as Christmas presents. I think that's really great to do. And people always love getting something handmade by young artists. So anyway, so we'll just kind of get started. And so like I said, you got a length of string here, and I'm just going to cut it some nice lengths, different lengths to kind of explore with for right now. So I got 3 different lengths of string, and I'm just going to grab my glue, and I'm really just going to explore something more abstract. Now you can do something that's more representational. You can do like a mini landscape, or even maybe a little like still life of like a flowers or something. But I think today we're just going to be playing with shapes and texture, which this is really great for. And so I'm going to just use my glue, and I'm just going to make sure my glue is open. Okay. And I'm just going to basically draw with my glue. And so I'm just kind of thinking about the shapes that I would like to see. I'm just creating kind of teardrop shapes, biomorphic shapes. And now I'm just going to take my string and just kind of set my string in there. Just like that. And I'm just going to use my finger just to kind of get it to set down a little bit. Okay. Now the nice thing is that, you know, the reason why we're using this string is, one, when the glue dries, it will shrink a little bit. Okay, and we want some nice high reliefs on the plate of the print. You can actually draw with the glue. Those reliefs will be lower because, like I said, the glue will dry and it'll shrink a little bit. And so we might do that. I might leave one of these as a just kind of as a glue piece, I think. And so I'm going to grab my other string here. And I'm just slowly just putting the string in and getting it pressed down. Okay, Don't worry about if the string is hanging off the side of the print or the plate, because we can trim that up later, so that's not a big problem. Making sure I get, so maybe I'll do, all right. So there I got some really nice kind of linear forms, linear shapes on the top. Those will create really great lines. And so, you know, if we look back at the print that I made before, so this line here, that's a piece of string, okay? And this is a piece of string, all right? And then if you want, you can grab some of your cheesecloth. And I'm going to, I think I'm just going to place it at the bottom. I'm just going to kind of put a little bit more glue down. I'm just going to use my popsicle stick, just kind of spread that out a little bit, that glue, so it kind of covers that whole bottom space. And then I got my cheesecloth here. And I kind of doubled it. I just let it double up a little bit, so I get some extra interesting layers there. And then I'm just going to drape that across the bottom. And then I'm going to use my popsicle stick. I'm just tapping that, kind of just tapping it in. Kind of just make sure that it gets embedded in the glue. And let me know if you have any questions. I can answer those. I got someone manning the question board, and if I'm moving too fast, just let me know. This is really about exploring material and just kind of just playing a little bit. I'm going to draw a line with the glue kind of across the top, and then I'm just going to lay a string on there. Mine's kind of taking the form of a landscape, which I kind of like, and so I'll show that to you here. So mine's taking kind of a shape of a landscape. So I've got these forms. They're starting to look kind of like clouds, which I thought was interesting, and this becomes kind of the land below. And so I think I'm going to keep kind of moving in that direction with that. All right. And you don't have to use all the materials. If you want, you can save some of them for later to make another plate. You just need another piece of cardboard. But I'm going to add a little bit more, I think, texture. I think I'm just going to draw with some lines just with my glue. And so these will be, again, low relief, but I'll add some interest with the print. Okay. Let's see. And I'm going to do something else here. Since I used part of this stick, so I'm going to actually use part of my popsicle. That's a nice thing about this printing method, is that you can introduce other materials that you find around your house. The thing to keep in mind is that they have to be fairly thin materials. I've used in the past the pop tabs from a pop can. I've used other bits of thin material, cardboard that's had been torn apart, and you get those ridges can be used. And so I'm going to do a little bit more kind of exploring the materials that I have in front of me to kind of play with. And so since I have gotten glue on this already, I might as well try to use it in an interesting way. And so I'm just going to apply some glue to the back, just a little bit, because it already has some on there. I'm just drawing a line. So if you choose to do that, don't need a lot because it'll spread out. And so I'm going to stick that onto my top of my cheesecloth. And I'm just going to press it down in there. All right. So that's what my plate is kind of looking like. Okay. Like I said, the biggest thing about this is that there's going to be some dry time involved. And so if you got your plate to where you want it and you think it's, you know, you've got some interest built onto that surface, combination of cheesecloth, string, and some glue kind of drawn, now it's time to kind of just set it to the side and let it dry. So as we're letting that dry, some other things that we can do and explore is creating interesting surfaces to print on. And so one thing that I've done is I've created this interesting surface using newspaper. And so basically what I did is grab the local newspaper, and I've torn it into little pieces. And really, when you do this, you really want to remove any straight edges. And so if you find a straight edge, just rip it. And so you get nice kind of fuzzy edges, okay? And then you can take one of your sheets, and I'm going to fold this one in half. I'm going to fold it the other way. I'm just using my fingernail, or if you got a spoon, draw that spoon across that. I'm holding it down. Draw that spoon along that edge. This is a trick that my printing professor taught me, and then you just kind of pull those across, and it creates this really kind of great, lovely edge. And so this, I think, will work well because it'll still provide me enough kind of space around my print. Okay. And so basically you take your glue. If you don't have a glue stick, your Elmer's glue will work okay too. There's just going to be a lot of drying time with this versus this dries fairly quick. And so basically to make your collage, you just take your newsprint, and I'm just applying glue to the back side of it and gluing down. Now I'm leaving. Make sure when you're doing this that you're leaving a little bit of an edge, like a white edge. Okay, that kind of acts as a frame. Very similar to what I did here. It's okay if it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but you want to have a little bit of space for this to kind of float in. That's very important. All right. And so yeah, you just kind of work, and you build this surface. Now, don't worry about it's better if you kind of layer over, because you're really just using the newsprint text as what we would call visual texture. And so these lines and the separations between the lines are actually creating interesting visual texture that start to take on the personality of something else. And so it starts to become not so much newsprint as more part of your visual image. Okay. And people that know me that know that I'm very much an artist that loves to use materials, found materials, collage. I like the hands-on approach to creating artwork in this way. And so, yeah, I could spend the whole day gluing bits and pieces of paper to a sheet. So and I'm trying to avoid these like larger words or larger text, so I'm going to cover that one up a little bit to kind of break that up a little bit. All right. You can also use magazines. So if you have some colorful magazines at home, you can do the same thing with that. If you're using magazines, I'd go and just kind of focus on color and really do color. Everyone that is watching at home, it would be really great to let us know where you're all from. You can provide those comments in the comment section. That way we kind of get a good idea of where everybody's at, and it kind of helps the museum understand where our members and visitors and people that are interested in the Blanden and the art classes are actually coming from. So if you could do that, that'd be fantastic and wonderful for us. Hopefully you're having a great day. It looks like it's going to be a nice day out today, where this is, of course, referencing November 21st is the day we're recording this on. So it's a little bit chilly out, but not too bad. Hopefully that you guys have some great plans, spending some time with your family at home for Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be difficult for a lot of people not to be able to travel and things, but I think just like us at the museum, we're looking at different ways of connecting with people, and this is one great way to connect is through doing things virtually. So I'm going to leave some of that.
Comment from your mother. She says, you do like to reuse things for your art. I remember you dumpster diving for things for art. That seems to be a characteristic of museum workers. Yeah. We'll not talk about that, Mom, right now. Evelyn McCullough says, here in Fort Dodge, a little behind, trying to keep up.
Okay, well, just let us know if you need any help. We can always easily go back. Right now, we're just, like I said, we're just building textured a surface using newsprint or magazines that we'll use later when we actually do the printing. So I think I'm going to leave it there. So this is kind of what I've done. It's kind of a nice little interesting. I might put another piece. Hold on, right there. I'm just going to tear off a chunk to kind of fit in that section to make it a little bit more square. There. All right, so that's, and I've left a little bit of this white space because I kind of like to see what happens if I lift a little bit of this white and how it's going to interact with the printing plate itself. And so I'll set that off to the side. The other thing that you can do is on this one, see I just used some markers, and you can just kind of draw some different things. Here I just kind of blocked out some sections with color. You don't want to do any type of anything that will overtake your print, and so we're basically just creating the background surface. If you have watercolors, those would work really well too. If you just have some watercolors and just kind of paint some nice light colors on here, that will work fantastic. But I have these markers here. And sometimes if you have the washable markers, you can actually use a little bit of water with these, and it actually will create a nice color filled type of a texture. So I'm just grabbing my other little half sheet, and I'm just going to, with this one, I think I'm just going to draw some nice kind of dashes. And I'm leaving some space because I'm going to come in here with another color. And I'm just creating kind of like Morse code here, some dots and dashes. If you're young, you may not know what Morse code is, but Morse code is kind of like binary code that computers use. It's basically either a dot or a dash. You know, computers use ones or zeros. It's kind of the same idea. All right, so there's my blue. And I think I'm going to do some in red. And so I got a red marker here. All right. Making the reds a little bit longer. Everybody, if anybody has any plans they would like to share, you can do that in the comment section. It'd be nice to hear what people are planning to do this upcoming week here with Thanksgiving coming, and you know we've got Christmas right around the corner too. I know my kids at home are getting excited about Christmas, so I'm sure you know if you're a kid, you're definitely getting excited about Christmas. And I think I'm going to try maybe some purple. So this is kind of my image here, my surface. And I'm actually going to maybe draw some going the other way. See what that looks like. You know, I think that's the wonderful thing about art, is that it allows you to do experimentations like this, and you can just see what works, and if things don't work, then you know not to do them next time, or you just try it differently. Here we go. You know, with printmaking, it's all about the process. So there's all these kind of things that you have to do beforehand. But each of the process that you do is works towards the end. So I think that's really great. Oh yeah. The other thing, you know, when you get your prints completed and stuff, we would really love to see them. And so if you can send them to us and attach them in the comment section, that would be really fantastic too. And just know that the prints will come later after your plate is dry and actually you've done everything. But I'm going to walk you through that process here soon. So now I've got 2 different surfaces. I'm going to actually take the other sheet of paper and I'm going to rip that one in two too, so that I can actually make two prints on white, and then I'll have 2 prints on my experimental surfaces. So I'm going to do that real quick. And again, I'm taking my spoon. So I've just folded the piece of paper in half. And then I'm going to use my spoon, and I'm just drawing the spoon along that edge. Okay. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same the other way. And I'm fold it the other way, and I'm just going to repeat, because that way it will help get a nice crisp tear along that surface. And so I'm just helping it out a little bit, and I should be able just to slowly just tear along that edge, just like that. All right, so now I have 4 different pieces of paper that I can create prints on, okay? And so, when your plate gets nice and dry, it won't look like this. This is after I've done 1 print already. But what you're going to do, and I would recommend, if you have newspaper or another sheet of paper, I'd recommend actually just setting down some newsprint or another big sheet of paper, so that you're placing your plate on that, okay? And actually, I'm going to move that over. I'm actually going to spread this out a little bit more. Okay. Can everybody still see what I'm doing? I can't pull them up too. And if you have long sleeves, try to pull them up as much as you can. If you have an apron or an old painting shirt, my kids use some of my old t-shirts. They just kind of drape those over them, and that's their kind of artist smock. Because we're going to get a little bit messy, but not too bad. And so this is really kind of control the mess on the on your tabletop. Okay. So now what I'm doing, I'm grabbing my smaller piece of cardboard that came with the kit. I'm grabbing my container of paint, and yours is probably taped shut. So go ahead and when you get ready to do the printing, when your plate's all nice and dry, just take that tape off. And basically, again, this is black acrylic paint. And if you want to do a different color, you just grab a different color of acrylic paint. But black really works well, and it'll contrast really nicely with the white. And so you can take your remnants of your popsicle stick, if you have any of that left. If you don't, then just grab a plastic spoon, and that'll work. But then I'm just going to scrape some of this paint out and put it on my cardboard square. And then you'll need your roller. And basically what you're going to do is just lightly roll, and we're just after a nice kind of even coat on our foam roller, okay? And so you're just going to work that paint into the roller, and so your roller gets nice and evenly covered, okay? So if you get to a point where you need to add a little bit more paint to your cardboard, you can do that, okay? And we're just really after grabbing that paint and getting a nice even coat. And again, this will be posted on Facebook, and then it will also be linked on our YouTube channel. And so you're able to watch this later at any time, accessing through the Blanden Art Museum's YouTube channel. We've got other classes on there as well. And the nice thing is we have kits still available from some of the other classes that you can come and purchase and just watch those pre-recorded videos. And those will be here at the museum. We have a weaving one that is $8, and then we have a watercolor one that is $10. And so, and you can call the museum too at 515-573-2316 if you have any questions or wish to get one of those kits, and we can get that ready for you. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I'm going to add maybe just a little bit more paint. Again, I want it nice and saturated on my foam roller, and I'm just kind of going back and forth and just trying to. I'm really after just to see nice even coat on the roller, trying to eliminate as much of that yellow as I can. All right, and then I'm just going to take it and move it over to my dried printing plate, and I'm just rolling it all over the surface, getting it nice and coated. And with using the acrylic paint, you kind of have to work a little bit fast, but not too bad. I mean, it'll stay wet for a little bit. And so if you have any paint on your fingers, just grab a kind of a paper towel or something and just wipe those off. All right. Now, so I'm going to get another sheet and just kind of move that onto a cleaner surface. All right. So this is what it looks like. So I've applied kind of a thin layer of paint, ink, to the plate. Okay. Now I've placed the plate onto a cleaner surface, and I'm actually going to grab, and then you want to make sure your fingers are nice and clean and dry. And then you're just going to grab your sheet of paper. So I'm going to first use this one because I'm very interested to see what this looks like with the print. So you grab your sheet of paper, and you basically, now you can see that I left a nice space around the edge of my plate. And so I'm just going to try to line to my best ability. I want it, the plate, the print kind of centered in my paper. Okay, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And I'm just kind of putting it down. And now I'm just kind of holding it. So I got one hand that's holding it down. Because you don't want this to shift. When you're printing, you don't want it to shift because you'll get blurred images. Okay? And this is when your spoon comes in handy again. And so again, I'm just using the bottom of my spoon, and I'm just rubbing, and I'm holding the paper with one hand so that the paper's not moving. So I'm holding it down, and then with my other hand, I'm just using the back side of the spoon, the smooth part, and I'm rubbing the back, and I'm basically, it acts as like a burnisher. Okay? And so I'm just kind of making sure that I'm grabbing as much of that surface of the plate as possible. And so I'm working to all the edges, and you can feel it underneath, and you'll start to see it kind of pop through the back side of the paper. We're getting some nice embossment, which means that I'm doing a really great job on grabbing that surface. Okay, and so I'm just kind of moving it around and rubbing. You want to apply pretty good pressure, as much pressure as you can, and working yourself, getting all the corners and all the edges. And this one hand is just holding the paper down, and I'm not moving this hand as I'm moving this one. So if I'm going to shift this hand, I stop, and then I move the hand. Okay, so in the like if I'm going to move this hand, this hand becomes the part that's holding the sheet down, okay? And so I'm just grabbing the edge here. All right, I think that looks really good. So I'm going to do a check, and so I'm holding the paper and the plate with one hand, and I'm just going to lift up the corner just to see how the transfer is doing. And so if I don't like what I see there, I can kind of come back, grab my spoon again, and try to kind of grab a little bit more ink. Okay. And I can do that again. So it's coming out okay. I'm going to grab a little bit more of this down here. And please let me know if there's any questions that you have with any of these processes that I'm going through. And so I think that's not too bad. So I'm going to lift that up. And so that's not too bad. So that's kind of an interesting image. And the nice thing with these two is that, you know, if you really wanted to, you can come back over it and maybe rotate the print, which is actually kind of connected to the print that we have up in the gallery, because that print, the full print, is actually one print, and then she printed another one and then inverted it. And so it fit right along with the Louise Nevelson print that we have to kind of play around and rotate that print a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to set that one off to the side. And I'm going to just print on a white, just a clean white piece of paper. Okay. So again, I'm going to remove my clean sheet and go back to my dirty surface. I'm going to take a little bit more of that black paint and put it down and get that roller nice and saturated again. And again, I'm moving it so that the roller becomes nice and black. So I don't want to see any of that yellow on that roller. You know, and again, don't worry if you get paint on your fingers. That's very, very typical of printmakers. Every friend that I had in school who was a printmaker, their fingernails were always caked with ink. So that's part of the process. But just make sure when you go to print that your fingers are nice and clean, as clean as you can get them. So again, I'm just rolling that our paint or our ink onto the plate, making sure that I get a nice good coat. Yeah. All right. Then I'm going to grab my clean sheet of paper. Again, I'm centering it. Okay. If I see any black on that sheet, I can kind of make sure that it's just dry. You want to make sure your fingers are nice and dry, not wet. And again, this is my clean sheet of paper. And again, I'm just eyeballing it down, trying to center the plate as best as I can. Okay. And again, I'm holding it with one hand, and with the other hand, I'm using the flat side of the spoon, right? And I'm putting my thumb in the inside there, and I'm just kind of applying pressure, and I'm just rubbing. And again, you just want to grab as much of that surface as you can, and so And again, for those that don't know me, I work here at the Blanden. I'm the director of the Blanden Art Museum, but I'm also an artist. And when I get time at home, I like to make my own work. And so I do have a small studio space. And I can tell you that I've really loved working here at the museum. I tell people that it's been really my dream job because it allows me to do a lot of different things and use a lot of my talents. And it also allows me to grow. And so I'm constantly growing. I'm learning new things every day, and I absolutely love it. I love talking to people, learning about the history of Fort Dodge, Webster County, learning more about art and all the aspects that go along with working at a museum. So it's been very, very great. And I have a nice family. I got 4 kids and a wife, and I know at least 2 of them hopefully are watching today and making some prints as well. So please let me know if you do have any questions concerning what we're doing here with the printmaking project. And again, you'll watch some of the video at the forefront, making the plate, and then you'll need to let the plate dry. And so when the plate is nice and dry, then you can watch the other half of this section, which we're doing now is the actual printmaking section. And again, I'm going to lift a corner up, see how things are looking. Oh, that looks pretty good. And so I'm going to lift this up, and so I'm lifting it up. And so that is my my print. And so this one actually turned out a lot better. Something with the newsprint that I think we got some of the blocky shapes, but there's some really nice contrast. And the nice thing is too, when this dries, you can actually paint with like watercolor or even markers into this. And so you don't have to necessarily do the markers beforehand. You can wait till this is dry and actually then start going in here with colors and stuff. And I can kind of show you that too. I have a, so this is one that I did earlier. That's nice and dry. And so I can take my marker. I'm going to set this off to the side. This off to the side. And so I can come in here and actually can kind of then start lacing color into that. So then you can actually zero in where you want the colors in relationship to the shapes and things that you make. Okay, so that could be a fun thing too. So that's a really great thing about printmaking in general, is that you can create several different images, and then by just painting them or coloring them, they can take on different characteristics, and you can actually make 10 different artwork or art pieces with using the same kind of format. So printmaking is a lot of fun. I love printmaking, especially when we're using bits of string and stuff like that. That kind of plays into just how I like to create artwork. So yeah, so hopefully the other thing that you want to do too, so once you're finished doing your printing for the day, so we've used this twice. You can use it multiple different times, but then you're going to let that sit off to the side and dry. And what you want to do with your rollers, you want to make sure that you wash it out and get it nice and clean. And so basically what you'll do is run it, and you want to do it when it's still wet. Okay, don't let this dry on your foam roller. And basically you're just going to run it underneath the sink, and I usually will run my fingers and run the fingers up and down the foam tab and kind of shake it out and make sure that it's nice and dry. You want to get it as yellow as you can. You probably won't get it back to perfect yellow, But you want to make sure that you get that as clean as possible and remove as much of that paint as you can. And then you can dispose of the smaller piece of cardboard. That's why we gave you two, because then if you want to do again, you have another sheet, or you can just go and get another piece of cardboard or wax paper or whatever you had available. Will work just fine too. Yeah, and if you want to use some soap, you can. You just want to make sure before you use it again that it's nice and dry and everything's ready to go. And so, so with that, I guess is there any questions before we kind of sign off and everything? I got Meg ready here to help me answer any questions that may pop up. I think it's been really great interacting with you, even though you're not here. I know that there's several of you watching, and so that is really fantastic and great. If you do get a chance, you please stop by the museum. Oh, and I'm supposed to say hi to, let's see, how you say that? Mason and Simon. Yeah, so hi Mason and Simon. Kensett, Iowa. It's been really great having you on today. So hopefully you have some great experiences.
Cora looks great. Grace tried.
Well, fantastic.
I'll show you when you get home.
Oh yeah. And also too, look on Facebook today. Later today we'll have a special posting of kind of a Thanksgiving performance. We invited Brady O'Brien, who is a local piano player, and he came in and played some really great, fantastic music that he actually composed himself. And so later today, I think it's at 3:15, that'll be posted on Facebook. And it's just kind of a way to kind of help us celebrate the Thanksgiving week coming up and engaging with our visitors and our members at home. And so if you get a chance, check that out. That'd be really fantastic. And if you get a chance, we are open, and you can swing in and see us. We're open Wednesday through Saturday, 1 to 4, and we'll be here. Masks are required. And and we try to maintain a level of social distancing and everything else. But again, we love to see all the visitors come in, and we really have some fantastic artwork up in the different galleries. And so there's plenty to see for everybody. So again, thank you for participating with this virtual class, and hopefully we'll see you again, if not through virtual, but in person would be fantastic too. But for now, we'll continue to create these virtual classes and have them available for everybody that wants to participate. So thank you again for joining me this morning at the Blanden Art Museum. This is Eric Anderson kind of signing off, and I had a really great time. This is fantastic. I wish I could spend all my day here. But I got to go do office work. So
your mother would like a kid.
Yeah, well, there you go, Mom.
and the Northway family says hello.
Well, fantastic. So thank you again, and continue to be creative, and hopefully this kind of will spur on a whole generation of new young artists to produce work that may someday be shown here at the Blanden Art Museum. So thank you.